let me set my timer so I don't go over, because otherwise I'll talk forever about this awesome stuff. Get ready. All right, so no slides about me or my company. Let's just get right to it so I don't waste your time. Bless you. All right, so the first part of this presentation is something that you're going to hear me talk about again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And then I'll get into some newer examples. But I looked at my career in search, and I'll get into this in a little bit, and realized that I spent all this time being like, what's Google doing? What's Google doing? And I spent like no time being like, why do people buy stuff? Like, it's funny, like, you know, we spend all this time trying to get to the top of Google search results, and we realize, like, I've spent all my time studying that and not people. So I decided to start studying marketing and marketing books that were written in the late 1800s, early 1900s, before people had these algorithms to trick and these people to trick. So, man, that is hot clicker. Okay, man, it's different from here than there. So once you start to choose to understand how people work and how people choose to buy, that to me is a skill set that is so much better than understanding how Google works. Because I can go to billboard sales if I have to, if I understand how people work. But if the only thing that I've ever done is figure out how Google works, I'm going to miss out on that. Okay, there we go. So I've already said that because I double-clicked. So I'll never forget when I started doing SEO, because it was like a joy to me. Like, I just love the industry, love the people, love the work. And it was August of 1999. And I've been basically thinking about that every day since, search and whatnot. So when you add all that up, that's a lot of time focusing on one thing and trying to consistently get better and better and better at it. The interesting thing, though, is that if you think about 1999, you were living la vida loca. Like 1999, August of 1999, you were living la vida loca, push and pull you out, right? Like, this is what you're doing. Now, like, that's a long time ago. Like, when I say 99, people are like, how long ago was that? Well, yeah, it's 17 years, but it's living la vida loca 17 years. And I woke up and realized that I was a little bit overweight, just like Ricky Martin did. What happened to that guy? I was a little overweight. I was overweight on how Google works, and I was underweight on how people work. So I started, not at Natalie's level, but I started challenging myself to understand the people behind the queries. Now look at this picture, this advertisement. If you had to write a line of copy for this, the company's Volkswagen, they're obviously in the business of selling cars. What might your copy be? I want you to think about that. Like, this is what happens when you start studying amazing old advertising. This is an advertisement. Read the headline. The marketers in the room, you got chills. The SEOs were like, I don't get it. The keywords aren't there. But like, you get chills when you see great marketing like that, right? Now, I don't like this whole, how does the man who drives a snowplow, like, you know, women can drive a snowplow too. But, like, I don't even need to read the rest of all those words. It immediately snaps in that, like, oh, wow, I've never thought about that. I have never thought about, well, when it snows and somebody's got to get to the plow so I can get my car out of the driveway, what do they drive? Damn, that's good marketing. That's understanding how people work. So I believe that the best marketers understand people's needs. And I went to 1900 to try to find the first instance of amazing content marketing. And I found one. So let's say you worked for the Michelin company. It's your job to sell more tires. It's 1900. You don't have Google, you don't have Facebook, you don't have email, you may not even have direct mail. You've got to figure out a way to get people to drive more with content. How do you do that? So chauffeurs, you know, rich people have chauffeurs and they drive them around the French countryside. So Michelin realized back in 1900, if they produced a guide that told chauffeurs where to drive around the French countryside, guess what they would do? They would take those rich people all over the French countryside. And those rich people would be very happy with their drivers, and their drivers would drive more. And as they drove more, they would wear down their tires. And as they wore down those tires, they would buy more tires. And they're probably going to buy tires from the company that made them look good to their boss because they drove them to some fancy schmancy place in France. 1900. The beauty of going back in time, like literally the first one was done in 1900. You can get a replica on eBay for about 20 bucks. I have one. And what's really crazy about building brand is that when you see a Michelin-rated chef, and you're like, oh, I'm going to this great restaurant. How do you know it's great? Because it was rated by Michelin. A rubber company? So you're trusting what to put inside your body, and you're bragging about the fact that a company who makes rubber tires that go across the nasty roads, you're like, I'm going to trust them to figure out where to take my wife tonight for dinner. That's what happens when you build a brand. People are like, wait, is that the same Michelin? I'm like, hell yeah, it is. You're trusting a rubber company. All right. So I think what's critical is that you have to understand people's needs, and then you can apply that to the business. And marketing, it's just nothing more than an amplification medium. I think you can use search, and I'll show you some ways. I think you can use search to make better product like that, but that's not for today. The segue is a great example. Like, I don't care how good of a marketer you are. Nobody wants one. And you kind of look like an idiot if you're on one. Nothing says I'm a tourist-ass tourist like a Segway tour. Or things like picnic pants. Like, I'm a pretty good marketer, but I don't think I could really sell any of you on picnic pants. Just in case I drop my noodles, it's in my crotch. So what I want to remind you all is, I want to challenge everybody here to start thinking about getting to the root of the customer problem, which means you've got to stop looking at words like, oh, where do I rank for the word like iPhone? Like, screw that. Like, get to the root of the customer problem, and that's what I'm going to show you all today. And I want you to think of the context before you start building content. And the way you understand context is by getting a full view of that user and the problems they are trying to address. Somewhere along the lines, when you look at your ranking report, you think of a ranking, and then you try to get traffic to that landing page. And we talk about people as if they're traffic. No, every single search is a person trying to solve a problem. Some of us in this room, we might search for sport, but we're in the 1%. Most people search to solve a problem. And the question is do you know if you're solving their problem or not? It has nothing to do with ranking well. Just because you can rank something well does not mean you're optimally solving the customer problem. So Jono got me thinking, he did a presentation in London about the query before the query. And when he said it, it was like, no, I was like, yes, it's the query before the query. What is somebody searching for before they search for that word that you want to rank for so bad? That's how you're going to win it. So you go and buy your new iPhone. And this is how it is, right? You buy your iPhone and they all just come out and cheer for you. It's kind of how you feel. And then you open that iPhone case up. Go ahead and play the video.
Okay, now this is the normal iPhone, is it?
This is just a normal iPhone 6. Yeah, I didn't want a bigger one.
All right, we're doing the reveal. His name's Jack.
Oh, shit! Yes, oh shit. So you come out of the store, you're super happy, they're clapping for you, you open up the freaking thing, you drop it on the ground. What query are you now doing? Oh my God, what just happened to my slides? We gotta go a bunch more slides up. There we go. Ooh, I gotta fix my cracked iPhone that I just bought now. How many companies that want to sell iPhones want to teach people how to fix their cracked iPhone? How many people that sell iPhones go, hey, well, you know what, maybe it's time to buy one, maybe it's not. Now you're sitting there looking at this phone am I just gonna have shards of glass in my face for the next 6 months, or am I gonna get the new one? So I was thinking, what are the queries that you might do the minute you drop your freaking phone? First of all, you're like, well, how much does a new iPhone cost? Because I just dropped it. Tons of people searching for that. You might be like, oh, I just dropped my phone. So Brian, I saw your phone. It's all cracked up. You're on it right now. Good luck with those little glass shards in there. You might do queries like this. I hear the new one's coming out. When is it coming out? What features does it have, right? Because you're thinking, I got this phone and it's going to kill me eventually with the amount of glass that could end up in my face. These are the queries you just might do. Poop. Back one. Damn it. The third most searched for phrase on the internet when I type in should I fix? Above your teeth. Is cracked iPhone screen. Now think about the companies that are spending shitloads of money to get rankings for words around iPhone. This is the query before the query before the query. And none of them are showing up at this point. It's a missed opportunity. And then of course, your kid flushes it down the toilet and it's all back over again, looking for the next iPhone. So search to me is this. This is our logo. And when we were designing it, I'm horrible at brand and shit, but I was like, search is imperfect. The lines are never straight. They're always a little bent and a little curved. There's some dead ends. And I wanted to remind my team that search is a journey that people are constantly on, and sometimes you end up in dead ends. Sometimes it's not as linear as you'd like it to be. But it's like, there's so many different touch points in the process, and we act like that doesn't exist. We act like search is like this. Search for Glasgow vacation, show up in Glasgow. Doesn't happen. That's not how this happened. Anybody in here just searched for a word in vacation and then that was it, and then you just went on vacation? Nobody does. But if you're in the travel space, I bet you're like, we got a ring for Glasgow vacation. Well, yeah, that'd be good, but what about all the other queries that person's searching for? What time of year is the right time to go? How much are the hotels there, right? And when we crap on user experience long enough, Google just goes, we'll take it. I'm gonna show you that in a little bit. What I love about answering people's questions at the top of the funnel, and Sam talked about this a little bit earlier, is that those are the trust building opportunities. Trust me, I know the companies who want to show up when I'm ready to fork over money. Too late. Who are the companies that want to help me with my problem before I fork over money? Which queries are you ignoring today that can help somebody solve their problem? What is the query before the query? And like I said, if you're in the travel space, look at this awesome search result. I searched for Orlando vacation. I clicked on travel guide. Sweet, points of interest, weather, hotels. Tell me a little about the city. Give me suggested itineraries, like what to do outside of the theme parks in Orlando. Awesome, because I might have wanted to search for that. The top sites. The back button. 671, you can go on this trip at this time, 671. Here are the hotels, here's the cost, here's popular flights, here's the time to visit, here's the temperature, here's the cost. Never left Google. You may like Google, you may not. But you cannot deny there's probably not one freaking travel site on the internet that can solve this problem for me in one page. There's not. Oh, we got to build a bunch of individual pages. Why? Because we got to rank for shit. And if you're in the travel space, you might not like it. But if you're traveling, you love it. And that's the thing that we as marketers got to realize whenever we get mad at Google. Most times, you don't like what they're doing to you in your vertical, but anytime you're not in your vertical talking to your boss about why you're not getting traffic from that ranking anymore, you're really happy that Google said, you know what, I'm sick of that. Remember restaurant websites? PDFs and menus and shit when you're on your phone? Google's like, never mind, we'll just give you all the directions, the most popular times, we'll put their menu up. Why? Because nobody enjoys opening PDFs on their phone. So, what I'm going to talk to you about now is the fact that brand really matters. And those high up the funnel touch points are opportunities for you to connect your brand as somebody who's solving a problem for that user at that time. Okay. Just read the highlights. You see it. Bad content doesn't make an emotional connection. Bad content pisses people off, so it does make an emotional connection. They don't like your brand. I'm going to show you examples of that. The best example I have is this. So this is brainwave activity when they put people in an MRI and gave them wine. They put them in the MRI, tracked the brain. The red line is when they told them it was a $90 bottle of wine. This is all of you. This is human nature. Don't be like, that's not me. Yeah, it is. It's all of you. Your brain has this activity in the medial orbital frontal cortex when, you didn't think I was going to say that today, did you? When we tell you it's a $90 bottle of wine. Then we take you out of the MRI, put your dumb ass back in, and then pipe the same wine in, and we tell you it's a $10 bottle of wine, and look at the difference in the brain activity and the pleasure regions of the brain. We didn't ask you what you thought about the wine. Your brain is telling you this shit tastes better. Telling you that something costs more makes your brain thinks it tastes differently and better at that. Man, that's scary. Brand. The difference between $90 and $10 is brand, right? Just take out the dollar signs and put in two brands. You buy something from Amazon. I don't know about you all, but Prime in the States, it's awesome. I always get it in 2 days. The returns are super easy. You put me on the Walmart.com, I don't know what that experience is going to be like. Never mind, won't buy there. So when I look at brand, one of the things I love to look at is when are you in the consideration set? So this is some research I was doing for a client. And you look at savings accounts in the States, this is a search on the States, and you see the brands people are mentioning. And one of my clients was like, well, why are we not ranking for whatever calculator anymore? I'm like, well, your brand doesn't show up when people search for those words. What are you doing to make sure more people search for your brand? Nothing. Well, then I can't help you. This is the scary part about search, is how much other things influence this. What's really interesting, and we'll get into in a second, is Reddit sitting down there. So Google is actually suggesting brands in that search bar. I want all of you who are on your phones, laptops, etc., to try this out for me. Type in small business CRM. Just type it in, hit enter, look at the results, let the page load, and then go to do another search starting with the letter Z, and don't hit anything after the letter Z. Just hit Z, put your hands away from the phone. Or like hold it with one hand, but don't type anything else in. Is anybody seeing Zoho CRM? How many of you are seeing Zoho CRM? Okay, the rest of you didn't do it, because this is how the internet works. All right, so for those of you seeing Zoho CRM, I'm telling you, Zoho CRM is not the most popular Z word in Edinburgh right now. It's not. So why would Google show you the most popular word that begins with the letter Z is Zoho CRM? Because they're a brand that is highly correlated to small business CRM. Man, when that happens, you're screwed if you're just like, where do I rank? Boop. Screwed. Just get ready, here it comes. That's what happens when you build a brand. You had the opportunity to show up there. And most of you had not searched for small business CRM before, so I know I'm in a safe place. The other thing I looked at about a client who was getting outranked by a really bad site for their own brand name and some words is I looked at, well, when people are looking for money market savings accounts, what are the things that they're looking for around that? Found them, fine. And the client goes, so we should make more content for all of these different things, right? And I was like, no, not yet. Slow up. I said, what we need to do is make more complete content. How do we make content that more completely solves the user's problem? People were looking for rates. They were looking for guarantees and whatnot, and all those different words. And we look at Google and we laugh about the Google Glass and haha, they failed. Yeah, they're billionaires. Nothing like laughing at somebody more successful than you. No, look, they failed. Google Glass was a waste. I told you. Okay, they have private planes. But Google knows it's easier to type, or it's easier to talk than type. And you know what? I realized this about a year ago. I said, you know what made Google Google? Is when you mistyped what you were looking for, they said that's our problem. They didn't complain about how dumb you were. They didn't complain about how you don't know how to fucking spell. Google said it's our problem. That's why we love them. That's why we don't use Bing. That's why we don't use AltaVista, Excite, Lycos, or any of those other freaking search engines that all got decimated. And I'm challenging more and more marketers to say, where are you complaining about some shit that you could do that? Instead of saying, oh, the users are stupid. No, the users are always right. So, something I want to challenge you all to think about is, My version of talking is easier than typing is how can you make users do fewer queries to solve their problem? How can you more completely solve their problem without them having to do 10 queries? And I'm going to show you what happens when that happens. Man, all right. So I'm going to skip over the Reddit stuff because I'm a little bit faster on time than I want it to be. So here we are, Capital One 360. We've got a paid ad. We've got this nice answer box, but that's not them. That's Cretio.com. That's not them. So obviously, somebody's a little bit upset about that. They're getting a ton of free space up there, and actually the data's wrong, which means users may not click through. They might go, oh, well, it's expensive because this website said it. And guess what? Capital One's sitting in the #1 spot. So if you're still running a ranking report thinking that you've done your job, you have not. Your users are getting the wrong information even though you're sitting in the #1 spot. How does that happen? Let me show you and break down for you how that happens. So first of all, the execs are always like, what the hell, right? Yeah, you SEO, what'd you do? How did you get this wrong? So I looked at this Cretio page, and I looked at all the different queries that people had around money market accounts. And I said, how many of them do they answer for the user in a quickly scannable way? And I went through this page and kept seeing one after another that actually answered all those different follow-on queries people asked. And there's a ton more of them. So when I looked at what I would consider to be the top 10 concerns when people are searching for money market accounts, they had answers to 5 out of the 10. Capital One only had 2. So therefore, Capital One does not get the markup that they hoped. They do not get the trust signals that they had hoped for. And it's their brand. That's crazy when somebody searches for your brand in a word and Google thinks another website is a better answer than your own. Understand all the queries around that main query, and you can build a set of content that won't force people to have to do search after search after search after search. And then when you actually start to really get into the research, there's so many more derivatives there that you have to find and decide that you want to build the content to answer those questions for users. And all I'm asking you to do here is just have a little bit more understanding for the user. I think as search professionals, minimizing your bias is like job #1, because if you optimize the way you search, wrong. I used Moz's Keyword Explorer recently because I love testing to see how good it is. And I was doing some research for a furniture company, and I said contemporary furniture. And Moz came back with modern furniture. I was like, okay, good. I wouldn't have searched for that way, but good. But then it came back with clean lines furniture. And I was like, ooh, that's good. Because I would have never searched for that. And the user's always right when they search. When people are looking for clean lines, it was highly correlated to contemporary. I was like, right. So talking about empathy, let's talk about this guy. Since you like him to open up places here, feel free, keep him. We don't want him. I hear you guys like people who want to separate you guys. Anyway, so I'm going to use a golf example because I figured I'm here, I might as well use a golf example. So I want to show you the example of 2 pieces of content and how differently both of these marketers who built great assets or resources to help golfers both failed those golfers, or well, one failed their golfers. So here we go, TaylorMade, great tool. You can like draw your slice and your hook and like where you typically hit the ball in this little web page so they can tell you what irons are best for you. It is amazing. They probably spent $200,000 to $300,000 building it out. Callaway, same thing. Spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to build a tool to help people figure out what clubs to buy. Come on. And if you search for things like golf club selector, not a lot of search volume on that, they're both ranking. So they're both indexable by Google. However, look at Callaway. I'd like to rank for 815 words. And then look at TaylorMade. Same tool, one's ranking for 815 words, one's ranking for 114. Both tools are amazing. People want to say that SEO doesn't matter. Wrong. But then there's this one that almost has close to 1,000, that's the global golf whatever, and they're not a brand, bless you. So I looked at them, and I'm like, oh God. Think about something where I can draw, like where do you usually hit the ball? Oh, I usually hit it there when I'm using this iron, or here's the trajectory of my ball. So helpful in helping you pick out your golf clubs. This is garbage. This is like the boring SEO stuff. That's like, well, I just gotta put the words on the page a lot and the word sale next to all the words over and over again so I can get rankings, get my boss off my ass. No thanks. Actually, that piece of content does not solve the user's problem very well. But the other tools were built in a way that didn't incorporate basic SEO and basic research. And as a result, that ugly thing is outranking Callaway. TaylorMade's not even on the page. Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent for an asset into doing nothing for them. And that's why I want to remind you all to try to understand the whole customer problem, because I don't golf. I'm horrible at golf, and I realized in order to get good at golf, I'd have to quit everything else that I do. And I'm not doing that. I like search better than golf, I'm sorry. But in this research process, I found things like iron forgiveness. Golfers in here, iron forgiveness makes sense to you as a word, right? Right? But like, I had no idea what those two words meant. I didn't even know those two words could exist next to each other and make a logical statement. It is your job as a search marketer to minimize your bias. And I'm going to show you how I actually minimized my bias so that that did not happen. So yes, I am going to talk about SEO. First of all, words like club recommender, which those things rank for, nobody searches for. People are looking for a recommendation. What are the best? So what I did is I looked at some of our competitors in SEMrush, pulled all their different assets and tools, put them into a pivot table. And I really wish I had time to show you this, but I don't. But what it allowed me to do was basically start to look at, well, oh, Callaway ranks for a lot of best words. Great. So if you take each asset or everything that's outranking you, put it all in one big Excel sheet and make it into a pivot table, you can literally start to see the big pockets and the search volumes for where your competitors are mentioning words that you're not. And if you've got a similar asset or you're thinking of building it, this is your roadmap. SEMrush, for those of you who are using it. Great tool at showing you all the things, or most of the things, that a piece of content might rank well for. RankBrain. I don't care about RankBrain, and neither should any of you. When I look at how Google is ranking things, I'm like, just make shit easier for people. They have 1,000 PhDs. Anybody in here a PhD? Anyone? Is that really you? Did you raise your hand? You just kind of, okay, just checking. Not a freaking one of you, but we sit in here like, guess what? I just tested this thing. Stop it. So I wanted to have a client rank for cloud computing. And we looked at the words people used, definitions, basics, PDFs, PowerPoints. And what we know about basic human behavior is people would rather learn and buy than be sold to. We know this. This is basic human behavior. So what happened? The client, who is hugely well known, they had a sales page. Buy our cloud computing shit. But if you look at the words people were using, they wanted to get educated about cloud computing. Look at the results. Wikipedia, definition, images for schematics on what is cloud computing. And then I looked at the paid ads. You won't believe this. At 20 to 30 bucks a click, these people are building things like this. Right now, if you search for cloud computing and click on a paid ad, none of it's going to give you what people are actually looking for. None of it. People want definitions. How does it work? What is it? What is cloud computing, right? Look at this page. Does it define it for you? They're like, if you had, today's most successful companies use a hybrid cloud strategy. Not helpful if I don't know what cloud is. Look how many times, deliver the right cloud at the right cost. I don't know what cloud is yet. And then I saw pages like this, and I hope Ollie uses this somewhere, because somebody paid $20 a click to drive a user to this. Oh my God. I can do a better landing page in Paint. So when we talk about machine learning, the way that we ultimately help that client to eventually rank in the top 5 for the word cloud computing is we looked at all the words people were using, and we had to fight with them for 12 months to say, we got to educate people. Tell them what it is, give them the schematics and different things that they can feel like they've learned about it, but it's the wrong time to sell it to them. They didn't believe us. They believed us once they went from 20-something to 5. So when we look at machine learning, the only thing you need to know is me. Me. This is all about me right now. Told you I wasn't going to start talking about me, but I'm going to finish talking about me. So I've been searching for my name for years. And usually I'm all the results. And then one day I started seeing people search for Wil Reynolds model. Look at my face. There is nothing modeliferous about this. The only person that loves this face is my dog, my son, my wife, and my mom. And what the search Yodas were telling me is like, Wil, you're not fulfilling the searcher's mission somehow. Thank you. And then I looked at the results, and suddenly this dude started showing up for me. The machines were learning. When people type Wil Reynolds model and enough people were searching that way, they didn't want to see me. Think about it. You could put a bag over my face right now and still get all of my content. You put a bag over a model's face, what is a model's content? It's their headshot. It's this bare-chested look that this guy has. And I'm okay admitting that I look more like this guy. But the machines got smart enough to know that I was failing the users who wanted some shirtless white guy, and it was me, right? And they're like, that's not what people want, Wil. So eventually I got knocked out of the image results. And that's okay, because I wasn't solving the user's mission. It's funny to think of it that way. But the robots are getting smarter than the marketers. Just look at that PPC example. The marketers are spending 20, 30 bucks to get clicks for something, and they're not answering what people want. That's why they can't rank organically for that shit, because when you pay, Google's like, we'll take your dumb money all day long. But when you want to earn it, they're going to make you actually try to solve the user's problem, which is kind of messed up. Here's the page. Start off with a video explaining what cloud computing is. Talk about the basics. Say, what is cloud computing? Wrong time to sell somebody. We want to educate. And as you can see, we educated the user. So I want to ask you, what I'm going to leave you with is like, are you ready to use your quote-unquote SEO skills to understand people better and what problem they're trying to solve? Or do you just want to rank for shit? I don't know about you, but I get most fulfillment when I feel like we've built something that I legitimately believe somewhere somebody clicked on it and went, thank you. This actually helps me out. I'm trying to figure out how to talk to my child about drug abuse. I'm trying to figure out how to take a vacation to get away from all the stress of work versus like, Glasgow vacation, 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 vacation. And they're going, ah. So the robots are going to take over. You already saw Google do it with the Orlando search. You fail the user long enough, Google's just going to take over all your space. And I don't want to see all you guys get blown up. They're going to take all your traffic, and we're all going to sit around here and complain about how mean Google is and how they're so evil. But in actuality, are you going to spend the time to start actually solving all of your customers' problems? Or are you going to sit around and keep crapping on them until Google eventually takes your traffic away from you? Thank you so much. We'll talk about it later.